everyone. Time for another Facebook Live. I hope you all are safe and healthy and happy wherever you are. Today's topic is a bit controversial. It might be triggering for some. It might be reassuring for some. It might be a little unsettling for some. But I woke up this morning thinking I really want to address this. And it has to do with conspiracy theories. And it has to do with really the emotional underpinnings of why people believe in conspiracy theories. Okay, so my intention is not to refute anybody's conspiracy theory. I'm really not interested in hearing about them, frankly. I've had people sending me videos and things like that, and I understand. But my point is this video is not about trying to refute conspiracy theories. It's not it's not targeting anybody in particular. I really just want us to consider some of the emotional underpinnings of why we believe in conspiracy theories. And I'm going to share this in terms of what the actual research shows, when they've done studies about this. But I'm also going to connect it to the inner exPowers according to my work. And if you all have seen any of my other videos, you know about the 3 inner exPower types, okay? And those are the 3 types of inner struggles that we all have within us. And so it was interesting because as I was looking at the research on and just doing, searching about what the research says about why we believe in conspiracy theories, it was interesting how it directly relates to these 3 exPower types. So first of all, let me just start off and share about what is a conspiracy theory. Let's start with the definition. So a conspiracy theory is defined as the belief that there are groups that meet in secret to plan and carry out malevolent goals, okay? And so, as I said before, I'm not interested in refuting conspiracy theories, and frankly, I think that there may be some truth in some things, and there may be forces out there, but we're just going to talk about really what's underlying this. So, what's also the factors that also increase conspiracy belief, get this, situations involving large-scale events, where more mundane or small-scale explanations seem inadequate. So that's one. Situations involving large-scale events, hello, we're in a pandemic, where more mundane or small-scale explanations seem inadequate. And then the other one is situations where people experience distress over uncertainty. So here we are in this global pandemic, which is a large-scale event. And then we also, because of this large-scale event, because there are so many unknowns, because there's so much conflicting information, because we don't know what the future will look like as a result of this, there's a lot of uncertainty. So it makes a lot of sense that we've been, seeing videos and, I've had people sending me videos or sending me articles or, I've seen people post these things. And again, I'm not trying to refute what they're saying, but I'm saying it just makes a lot of sense then, doesn't it? That we have so many conspiracy theories that are going around right now, or that are having a resurgence or what have you, because we're in a large-scale event where there's a lot of distress and a lot of uncertainty. So here are the 3 factors. These are the key driving factors why people believe in conspiracy theories. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share each of these factors. With each of these factors, though, I'm going to give you basically the underlying exPower or exPowers that are connected with that particular driving factor when it comes to conspiracy theory beliefs. And the reason why is because I really want people to just step back. Maybe you're someone who tends to believe in these things, or maybe you're distressed because you're seeing other people believing in these things. And I just want us to step back and really consider for a moment more of the emotional underpinnings, the emotional level of these things. Because really underlying this is a lot of fear, a lot of stress, a lot of pain, a lot of anxiety, a lot of different things. And as you'll find out, a lot of the reason why people believe in conspiracy theories is because they're trying to mitigate that anxiety. They're trying to mitigate that sense of powerlessness that they may feel. And I'm not trying to say us, them, that we may feel. Those of us, all of us who may believe in these things. So the first key driving factor for why people believe in conspiracy theories is 1, the desire for understanding and certainty. So the desire to seek explanations, that's a totally natural human desire. We are pattern-seeking individuals. We're always looking for patterns, and that's by design. That's for survival. I mean, the way it was once explained to me was, if we see that our, back when we were in the, tribal days and, out in the bush or what have you, and we see that a friend of ours has just eaten a berry and then they died, a few hours later, then that's a pattern that our brain would want to recognize that, oh, don't eat that dairy because you might die, right? So seeking patterns is a very natural human instinct. It's just a natural part of the way our brains work. It's for survival, so it's understandable. But the issue here is when people believe in conspiracy theories, it's almost like that pattern seeking is kind of on hyperdrive. So it says, we quickly want to find answers to those questions, but they're not necessarily the true answers, just answers that comfort us or fit into our worldview, right? So we're looking at the emotional connection there, that a lot of times we want to believe something because it brings us comfort or because it fits our pre-existing notion about the world. That's also known as confirmation bias. So uncertainty is an unpleasant state, right? Nobody wants to feel uncertain. And conspiracy theories provide a sense of understanding and certainty that is comforting, right? Always, this is about the emotional part of this. When people encounter disparate information, can we all agree that we're seeing a lot of disparate information right now with this pandemic? This article says that, this expert says that. It's all very confusing, and we don't know what to believe or who to believe. When people encounter disparate information, it is only natural to look for explanations that connect the dots. That's what we do, right? Conspiracy theories offer explanations that provide this connection. They also suggest that, sorry, my phone is close to dying. Okay, they also suggest that the underlying causes are hidden from public view. When confusing things happen, conspiracy theory believers, can then assume it is because they are being intentionally deceived by outside forces. Okay, so that's just the first thing, the desire for understanding and certainty. That is related, as I see it, with the 3 exPower types, the 3 types of inner struggles, related to, so when we talk about the desire to seek patterns and to make sense out of things, that's actually not quite the exPower, that's more of our impresario. That's the part of us that wants to figure out and fix and make sense, okay? So I don't know if you can see that very well. It's kind of bright, isn't it? Anyway, these are all on my website and the link is there, okay? So that's the impresario part of us. It wants to make sense of things because oftentimes what this wonderful impresario part of us will do is it senses that we have fear coming up. So then it's like, oh, I don't want you to be scared. So it will try to figure things out. It will try to fix things. The thing is, though, when it overdoes that, it becomes, right? So from the impresario to the controller, overly anxious, overly controlling, overly reactive, okay? So that first driving factor, the desire for understanding and certainty, a lot of that is related to this, to the controller inner exPower that we all have these inside of us, okay? But again, it's because it's trying to help us feel better. It doesn't want us to feel scared or uncertain or a lack of understanding about the world around us. So it's trying to make sense of it. Okay, so the second driving factor for why people believe in conspiracy theories is the desire for control and security. Okay, so people want to feel in control of their lives. I want to feel in control of my life. I mean, don't you? So what conspiracy theories can do is give their believers a sense of control and security. So when people feel threatened and there are a lot of unknowns, right? Isn't that what we're dealing with here? Detecting sources of danger can be a way of coping with anxiety. All right, so that's that same thing, trying to figure out how can I feel a sense of control and security when really the truth is I feel such powerlessness and there's so much chaos in the world. And so for example, here it gives this example. This is from an article and I'll post these below. If global temperatures are rising catastrophically due to human activity, then I'll have to make painful changes to my comfortable lifestyle. But if pundits and politicians assure me that global warming is a hoax, then I can maintain my current way of living. All right. So for example, there are people who, deny certain things. And oftentimes though, it's because of that underlying anxiety, because it's the thought of, well, I already have too much going on. I already feel too much anxiety and chaos inside. Don't make me change anything. And so that can also be one of the reasons why people will tend to reject, what's sort of generally accepted fact, because it means that they might have to change something about their lives and they already feel such a sense of powerlessness and lack of control. Okay, so that's the second one, the desire for control and security. Now that of these exPowers is related to the controller, obviously, because the controller is the part of us that wants to feel a sense of control, that it senses that we're anxious or scared, and so it wants to go into that hyper control mode. It's also related, this particular belief, desire for control and security, is also related to the inner defender. This defender inside of us, part of what a defender does is it tends to want to push away any pain or threat. But also what it can do is do that to us on the inside. It doesn't want us to feel scared. It wants us to feel powerful. So sometimes we can have an inner defender that's trying to defend us from those feelings and from feeling scared and out of control. And so this defender part of us will want to be very, rejecting of certain things or try to make us feel stronger in the face of this anxiety and fear and powerlessness. Okay, so the third reason, the third key driving factor why people believe in conspiracy theories is the desire to belong or feel special. So research shows that people who feel socially marginalized are more likely to believe in conspiracy theories, right? So if someone's feeling like they're an outcast of society or they're not part of an accepted group, they're more likely to believe in conspiracy theories. One of the reasons why is because it gives them a sense of community. If they can find other people who feel similarly marginalized and believe in things that most, are not commonly held beliefs, then they can feel a sense of connection and community. Furthermore, it gives them a sense that they are the holder of privileged knowledge. So that's that whole thing about wanting to feel special. So if I'm believing in a conspiracy theory, it can give me a sense of power. It can give me a sense of specialness. It can give me a sense that I know something that other people don't know. And that can help alleviate some of those feelings of anxiety or rejection or not feeling like you're an important part of society. Those who believe in the conspiracy feel that they are the heroes of the story, while those who are conspiring against them are the enemy. Okay, so those were all part of the third key driving factor in believing in conspiracy theories, and that is the desire to belong or feel special. So guess what? We've covered two of these, right? The first reason was mostly about the controller and the impresario. The second reason was mostly about the defenders. What do you think this third one's mostly about? It's about the wounded. It's about the wounded that we carry inside of us. And the fact that the wounded is the part of us. It's the flip side of the inner free spirit, all right? Again, all of these are on my website, which is linked there, okay? The inner free spirit is the part of us that's all about love and connection and community and romance and wanting to feel free and happy. And the thing is, though, when it feels rejected or marginalized or hurt or unsafe, then it becomes a wounded, okay? So notice that each one of these reasons, the first one really had to do with the controller, a lot of it. The second one was about controller and defender. The third one's about the woundeds. But here's the key, and I've said this in previous Facebook Lives, this is what's underlying all of this, okay? It's the sense of woundedness. I mean, I've mentioned it in all three, right? It's the sense of lack of control, confusion, lack of understanding, lack of certainty, powerlessness. These are all aspects of the wounded, okay? So if we've grown up in environments where we felt this way, and pretty much everybody has, right? We all have traumas, we all have pain, we all have, lots of issues that cause us to feel this way. And so the whole point is that when we have this feeling, but then that other parts of us can develop that cause us to not want to feel that way. Nobody wants to feel hurt. No one wants to feel powerless. No one wants to feel scared. No one wants to feel those things. And so that's why we tend to have these defense mechanisms, these protective mechanisms to protect us from this feeling. A lot of times the defender will be afraid that if it allows us to feel this way, then we'll fall apart and we won't survive, or that if the controller feels that that if we feel this way, then we won't have any control in our lives. And the reality is we don't have control over everything. So anyway, the point is that those are the three key reasons why people believe in conspiracy theories. Again, and I understand this may be triggering for some people. I understand that people might want to argue with what I'm sharing here and say, no, whatever I believe in is true, etc., etc. I get it. I'm not trying to argue with your beliefs here, okay? I'm simply sharing what the research shows about why people tend to believe in conspiracy theories. And I'm simply inviting all of us, okay? Not just those of us who are thinking that this video or that whatever is crazy or whatever, or other people who are sharing those things. I want us all to really sit back and say, okay, so then emotionally, what's really going on here? You know, within other people, within ourselves, and recognize that this is not just a mental, intellectual thing, that it really, you know, in fact, I would say a lot of what each of us believes has emotional underpinnings, that a lot of times what we believe is because of how that belief makes us feel. And it's true that belief can also be, you know, grounded in science and research and facts. I get that. I'm just saying that there can also be an emotional component to our beliefs. So that's all I want to introduce here, okay? I don't want anyone, you know, worrying about feeling like you have to convince me of anything. I'm just trying to offer another perspective. So here's the interesting thing. Do conspiracy theory beliefs actually help people satisfy these needs, right? These lack of the powerlessness, the desire to feel special, the desire to feel a sense of control and security. Here's the interesting thing, and again, this is what the research shows. It says there's little evidence that believing in these theories actually helps people satisfy this need. In fact, what it can also do, what it can actually do is increase the sense of insecurity and fear, because it actually increases that sense of who do I trust? You know, if there's this big grand conspiracy and these big groups who are controlling everything, for example, you know, then what can I do? And it can actually increase that sense of anxiety and powerlessness. This is what they found in the research. It also says that people who believe in these things may actually be less likely to engage in actions that would potentially boost their sense of control, right? So if the issue is a feeling of a lack of control, but then you know, someone who believes in a conspiracy theory then might decide, you know what, I'm not going to vote then. I'm not going to bother. I'm going to opt out. What that actually does, though, is it can actually increase that sense of powerlessness because you're really choosing not to use whatever agency you have. And leave them feeling more disempowered than before. So then again, when I was doing the research, it said, well, what helps reduce conspiracy theory thinking? Well, first of all, I would say that here's one of the issues is that especially in a pandemic like this, when we have so much fear and anxiety, so many unknowns. I'm sorry, but nobody has I will just say that nobody has the answer out there, right? I was just asked in an interview the other day, well, what do you think are going to be the skills that people are going to need in the future? And I'm like, you know, all I can do is hypothesize. I don't know for sure. Nobody really knows for sure what the future looks like. So we're all in a state of lack of control and powerlessness and unknowns and uncertainties, right? We're all in this together. But I would say the first step is really not about trying to, you know, necessarily question your own beliefs or refute anybody else's beliefs, but just honor the fear and the woundedness inside us. Honor the anxiety, honor the fact that we're scared, honor the fact that we don't all have whatever control we desire. It's a human, basic human nature to desire control over things. And we just don't have that in so many ways. So this is a really scary time. There's a lot of conflicting information. It can be really hard to discern what's true from what isn't, who we can trust and should listen to versus who we can't trust and who we shouldn't listen to. And the thing about that too is that what happens is when we're in a highly emotional state, what can happen is that let's say the left brain is more like logic, reason, you know, being rational. The right brain is generally all about emotions and feelings and things. The thing is, when the right brain is on overload, right, which many of us are right now, we're anxious, we're scared, we're overwhelmed, we don't know what our future is going to look like, there's so much we can't control. What happens is when that's in overload, it means that it's almost like the left brain kind of goes offline. And it doesn't really function as well as it could because we're in such a hyper anxious state or just a hyper overthinking state. And so the important thing, the first step is always, this is what I do in my life, I honor how I feel. because I know I'm not going to think clearly and have clear discernment and clear perception of the world around me while I'm in a hyper emotionalized state. So I do that by honoring how I feel. I don't argue with it. I don't question it. I just go, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I draw out my feelings. I've talked about that in previous Facebook Lives. I talk to other people about how I'm feeling. I write in my journal. I get it out of my system so that it's like I can clear my mind so that that left brain can kind of come back online in a more calm and reasonable and, clear perspective way. So that's the first thing. I always say, honor how you feel. Don't fight it, honor it. The second thing, of course, when we can just help ourselves calm down, or other people can help us just kind of calm down, then it's about discernment and being very discerning about the information we read and that we take in. And the truth is, again, if we're in a hyper-emotionalized state, then we take in information. We could be taking in information that's going to make that freak out more, or that we're going to take it in because it gives us a sense of comfort because we're trying to calm down the anxiety. Either way, we're still trying to deal with that emotion. So once you're in that calm state, you can have more discernment, okay? And there's some very simple, easy sort of, criteria you can follow. And actually, this is partly what caused me to want to do this talk, which I thought was really interesting. There's ProPublica is they do investigative journalism. They're non-for-profit, all that kind of stuff, but they do investigative journalism. ProPublica, and there was this one investigative journalist who he wrote an article, and I'll link it below. He wrote an article, really interesting article. He said, for sifting through all the content we see every day, so we can tell the difference between fair reporting and something so biased it should not be taken seriously, all right? And these are the 6 criteria that he laid out. I thought this was really interesting. And he laid it out in response to a video that's been going around, and someone had sent it to him, and they were saying, well, how would you, sort of look at this? Because this is obviously a guy who gets a lot of information that he can't always trust. He's an investigative journalist. He doesn't immediately trust the information he gets, so he's got to question it. He's got to do his research. The first criterion is the presentation one-sided? So if you're taking in some kind of media, or if you're taking in some kind of, documentary or something, is the presentation one-sided, or are they showing both sides? And I will put the link to this below. Number 2, is there an independent pursuit of the truth? Are the people who are actually presenting the information, do they truly want the truth, or do they just have an agenda that they're trying to put forward without bringing in any alternative points of view? 3, is there a careful adherence to the facts? And this is where it's like, have they really done their due diligence, and have they presented all of the facts that should be presented, or are they just sort of picking and choosing? I see a lot of that, to be honest with you. And that is what also increases our sense of what I talked about before, the tendency to want to connect the dots. Well, if somebody's only giving you just this data point over here and that data point over there, then the brain is automatically going to want to try to make sense of it, and then could end up believing things that aren't entirely true because the brain hasn't been given the full picture of what is the truth. So number 4, are those accused allowed to respond, right? So if some article or documentary or whatever is making some kind of accusation, have they given, those people they're accusing, have they given them an opportunity to really speak for themselves? Number 5, are all sources named and cited? And if not, is the reason explained? One of the things that this guy, his name is Marshall Allen, in this article, he said that, he was watching this particular video, and that basically it was showing like doctors and other people, but it didn't give names, it didn't give their titles, it didn't give anything. So the assumption is you're supposed to just believe whatever is being put out there or being said to you, without the opportunity to really question that person who's saying it. Number 6, and this is the final one that he gives, does the work claim some secret knowledge? I understand, okay, that there is a lot of information out there. There are a lot of things we don't know. I understand, I'll just say, I know there are forces out there that are probably doing not very good things. And I also understand there's a lot of, videos out there that are saying, well, this is some secret knowledge that you don't know about. But I think it's interesting that he does say, hey, does the work claim some secret knowledge, because it's a chance to, you know, kind of go, okay, well, wait a minute. How is it that they claim that they know this secret thing, but somehow like experts over here don't know it? Things like that. So that's where it's really important for us to be discerning about the information we take in. Final note, and I thought this was interesting, that what is it that reduces conspiratorial thinking? Well, considering that the three main driving factors for why people tend to believe in conspiracies are: one, the desire for understanding and certainty; number two, the desire for control and security; and number three, the desire to belong or feel special. Well, so it says that the feeling in control actually reduces conspiratorial thinking. That kind of makes sense, right? So whether or not we believe in conspiracies can be directly connected to our own inner emotional state. Again, I'm not saying that there isn't good, valid information out there among some conspiracy theories, but I am inviting everyone to do some inner emotional investigation into, well, what is going on inside? And could it be clouding my perception? Could it be precluding me from actually being very discerning? Could it actually be making me feel so out of control of my life that I'm looking for anything that will give me a sense of control or a sense of belonging or a sense of specialness or a sense of certainty that I so desperately am looking for? Okay, so feeling in control reduces conspiratorial thinking. I thought this was really interesting. It said people tend to take one of two approaches in the pursuit of goals, okay? One, there are those who are promotion focused, believe that they have the power and control to shape their future. Okay, so that's one approach. The other approach is people who are prevention focused, on the other hand, are more focused on protecting what they already have rather than on achieving their goals. So researchers found that promotion focused people were more skeptical and less likely to buy into conspiracies. It's this sense of autonomy and agency that makes people less likely to believe in secret plots and nefarious plans. Therefore, encouraging believers to pursue their goals and take action in their own personal lives can reduce their feelings of powerlessness and thus their tendency to believe in conspiracy theories. Okay, so I'm not sharing this as a way of, okay, anybody you know who believes in a conspiracy theory, go try to get them to pursue their goals. This is not, I'm not trying to change anybody. I'm just trying to present information that could be helpful. Maybe it's helpful in your own self-investigation. Maybe it's helpful in your own understanding, even like compassion for other people who might be, you might see them putting out a lot of conspiracy theories or a lot of, things like that, that what's underneath that can be a lot of anxiety and a sense of powerlessness and fear, and that what can help alleviate that is honoring those feelings, and then also really helping the person to find, or even if you need this, find a sense of control or power in your own life. That is really hard right now. I realize that saying that is easier than doing it right now, because there is so much none of us can control. Even the people who are in charge, right? Even the people who are leading our governments, they don't even have all this control. And so it's really an anxious time for just about everyone. And so that's what's really important to honor first and foremost, and to recognize that when we do have fear and anxiety, and I talked about this in a previous Facebook Live, when we do have these levels of fear and anxiety, we all react in different ways. And that's according to, as I talked about, these three types of exPowers, these three inner struggle types that we all have inside of us. Sorry, it gets all kind of weird. There we go. Three types of inner exPowers that can determine how we react to this very scary, very crazy situation that we're in. And so, as I've said about 10 times in this video, I understand this information can be triggering. Maybe it's reassuring. Maybe you're finding it helpful. Maybe you're recognizing that it resembles things that are going on with you. And maybe it'll cause you to do just a little bit of sort of self-investigation and just kind of go, well, what is going on with me? And why am I feeling this way? And to really honor those feelings. You don't have to fight with them. You don't have to criticize yourself for having them. Just honor how you feel. And when we honor how we feel, believe it or not, people think that when you honor how you feel, you're going to feel more of that. And sometimes that happens, but a lot of times, actually, it's like that balloon of emotion starts to go, because these parts inside of us are feeling heard and honored and valued. And so they start to calm down. And it's when we're in that more calm place, emotional space, that's when we can have better discernment. That's when we can have a clearer perspective. That's when we can feel more empowered. And that's when we can make better decisions, even in a crazy situation like the one that we're all in. Okay? I hope this is helpful. If you have questions, feel free to put them below. If you have other questions about other things, feel free to put them below. And anyway, everybody stay safe and healthy. Mwah, love you. I'll talk to you all again soon.